The Mr. Olympia results may shock you.
The speculation will cause controversy.
Just every clickbait title we can fit.
Is never 2023 Olympia canceled?
Alien potential at 2023 Mr. Olympia.
What would be another one? They're like Arnold canceling the Olympia for his show. It's like, what?
No. I got a good one. Coach Greg yells at all Olympia competitors.
Rich Piana back from the dead at the Olympia?
From the grave.
He just rose from the grave to the Olympia. He's back. You can hear the music, the hard style's coming already.
But yeah, hey guys, it's 1 week out from Olympia, so we are we're putting down our predictions. We're putting down our bets. We're getting ready for the big time.
Oh yeah. Today we'll be going over who we think is going to place where. It's all just the thing with the, like, really only a couple of these are like, yeah, I'm basically guaranteed this is how they're going to place. But outside of like basically first place in each division that I have down is like, it could literally be basically anybody at this point. Like, so many of men's open competitors, classic and men's physique, which we'll be going over today, so many of them are like, whether or not they show up, peaked, how their conditioning is actually going to be on stage, whether or not, their Instagram photos or something like that are even like truthful in a sense, like they're actually showing like their true physique, or if it's like, heavily filtered and all of that. So all of that's going to kind of play a role, because like none of these guys we actually see in person. So it's like we can't really say what these guys are actually going to look like on stage. And also you got to keep in mind that even if their photos were not altered in any way, how they look in the gym is going to be very different to how they look on stage. And on top of that, stage photos, when we see stage photos when the show does come around, look very different than what people look like on stage. So
yeah,
what the judges see versus what we see in photos and videos may be two completely different things. So we're just going to kind of speculate, see what we think could be the top 5 in each division, and kind of just go over that and why we think that potentially.
And for anyone who doesn't know, the Olympia is starting this week. It goes from Thursday all the way to Sunday. I think pre-judging is Saturday, and then the actual
I think
pre-judging Saturday, and then
usually they do pre-judging Saturdays, I think.
Yeah, and then Sunday they come out with their
the official schedule for the Olympia. Let's see. So
because I know the first couple days are just meet and greets and exposés and stuff like that.
So Friday is the pre-judging for 212. In men's is just 212. And then let's see, Friday finals is 212. So 212 is done Friday.
Okay.
Mr. Olympia prejudging is Friday as well at 6 p.m. And then from there, their Saturday is classic physique and men's physique, and then obviously wheelchair Olympia prejudging. And then let's see, finals are also wheelchair on Saturday, and then Saturday finals, men's physique, Mr. Olympia, and classic. So Sunday there actually isn't any finals. So Saturday so to break it back down, Friday prejudging Mr. Olympia, Saturday prejudging and finals classic and men's physique. So all 3 finals are on Saturday, but Mr. Olympia prejudges Friday night. That's the only separation there.
Yeah.
Which fucking sucks for Mr. Olympia competitors, in my opinion. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean that's a long time that you got to be dialed in.
Yeah, and on top of that, I want to say finals actually does play a role in your placing as well. I'm pretty sure. Like, it's not like you could like show up perfect to prejudge and then show up to like shit to finals, and they'd reward that, So
Well,
we'll see how that goes.
I have in my predictions something going down in the finals, like that affects the actual placement. So we'll get into that when we get to classic.
All right, sounds good. I think I know what direction they're going in, but we'll see. So I guess we could just start with like men's open.
Sure. Yeah, that's the it's the
That's the big
blowout.
one.
But it's no competition.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we both got Derek Lunsford first. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, he was
if
expected to
anybody
win last
wants
year.
to see, yeah, if anybody wants to see, just take a look at his Instagram stuff, right? Like as of late, because I mean, Paul and I send each other stuff almost on the daily about what this dude posts. Like he's got muscles on his back that I didn't know existed.
Yeah,
and I
defies the
know the
laws of
human anatomy.
physics.
Yeah, I know human anatomy pretty darn well, and he's just got muscles I've never seen before.
And seeing his well, this is the thing, is that we don't know if these photos are filtered or anything like that, but seeing his photos right now,
yeah.
in comparison to his Olympia prejudging quality, it's like his rhomboids are sticking out like an extra inch in comparison to last year's prejudging. So that's really interesting to see. But we'll see how he actually peaks. I mean, a lot of people had him for like top 3. Then once you saw him on stage, it's like, fuck, this guy could actually win. But then Heidi Chupin took it, which I agree with. We talked about it last year. I agree with the placement, but like once we saw Derek up there, it's like, fuck, dude, like he's totally gonna fucking win. And then now that we see where he is now, and he looks leaner and bigger than he did last year, like it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But I do have him first. Sorry, there's a bug. Anybody who's watching the video just see my swipe the camera.
It's your fist bump. You're like, yes.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing the air. But we'll see how he places. I mean, I'm excited to see his physique. He looked insane last year, so it's gonna be exciting stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he just brings a different package. Like, men's open continues to be, essentially who can take the most drugs and survive, and it's like he's really, really getting there.
Yeah, I mean, he's just bringing a bit more symmetry and aesthetics back, which is great.
Yes.
Very few men's Olympia competitors have aesthetic physiques, so we'll see how that goes when we cross that line. But I mean, as far as like the other placements, I mean, there's a lot of other people I'd rather place higher. Like I want Regan Grimes to place really high, but he's not gonna. I know he's not.
So I actually have him in the 3. I have him in the 3.
We have Regan Grimes top 3.
I'm pulling hard for him. I fanboy over Regan, and I'm pulling hard for him this year.
Interesting. See, I have him probably maybe top 10. I'm not even writing down a top 10 list, but maybe top 10. I would hope.
Yeah.
But there's so many other competitors I think that are going to go past him.
I think for him, it really just comes to how low he can get his body fat and all that, because he has the size. It's just how diced can you get, and also, like you brought up, like your aestheticness, how good can you make yourself look? Because men's open can be tough to make yourself look good in the eyes of the judges, especially anybody who's not in the bodybuilding world looks at men's open and says that's disgusting, but we enjoy it. But I think for him, because looking at some of his past shows and whatnot, when he comes in nice, but I feel like there's always a little bit more that he could have peaked.
I mean, he's gotten his conditioning a lot better, especially under Hani. I'm pretty sure he's under Hani Rambod. Or maybe it's Milos Sarkev. I always get them fucking mixed up. Actually, I think it's Milos. Yeah, it's Milos Sarkev. So under Milos Sarkev, I think that his condition is gonna be even better. He has done pro shows in order to get qualified for the Olympia. So hopefully he comes in conditioned. I think his problem is actually the opposite. I think it's his size that's going to end up being a problem. He doesn't
too much size.
He doesn't quite have the size that the other competitors do.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, he had to take a whole year off from the Olympia to put on size, just because he didn't have the size a couple of years ago. Which he has a lot more size now. Don't get me wrong, but I think he could use some more size. I think that he could benefit from that. So we'll see
And
how
the
that
problem is
goes.
he doesn't post with other people, so it's tough to see the comparison shots, you know?
This is true. This is also true. So I mean, hopefully top 10, but he hasn't placed well in the past. I'd love to see him in the top, 3, 5, whatever, but it's all just up to the judges, and they don't typically look on Regan favorably. So we'll see how that goes. But for overall, my top 5, which this could be really, honestly, any of these 4 could really go in any direction. I think it's just like this next list I'm going to list off is like theoretically 2 through 5, but it could be any combination. It doesn't necessarily mean that like I think that, who's going to get second is going to get second. I mean, he could, but if he places third, I'm not surprised, So for second, I have Hadi Chupin. For third, I have Nick Walker. Fourth, I have Hunter Labrada. And 5, I have Samson Dauda. I think any of those could transfer. I think a lot of it's going to come down to whether or not they peak properly, how they look on stage. Like Hunter beat Nick last Olympia, but I don't know if they're gonna. Nick has just got such a fucking freaky physique that they are probably going to reward that at the end of the day. And I think Hadi could place really, really well. We know that he won last year. I think it just comes down to his peaking because he's on the older side. So it's hard to say whether or not he's going to show up peaked. And I hope he does. I hope he gets first or second. He deserves it. But with knowing where Derek's at, being on the younger side, peaked like crazy last year. He looked amazing. So we'll just see how that goes. Nick versus Hunter. I don't think either one really has an aesthetic physique at all. Hunter does look fucking wild, though. He comes in a lot of time very lean prior to a show, and then he misses his peak. It's just he's got that big Rami, issue there where he looks crazy. Like 4 weeks out, he posted and he looked fucking dicey the gills. But then, sometimes he'll show up to a show and he doesn't quite look the way he showed himself on Instagram. So I hope he gets placed in top 5 or top 3, even for that matter, but we'll see. And then Samson Dauda is just, everybody's a fan of Samson Dauda. I'm not the biggest fan of him. I don't like his physique at all, really, but just knowing his potential, I think he could potentially place top 5. So we'll see how that goes.
What you brought up with their physiques, Nick Walker's physique actually scares me. Like, he's that wild. Like it's also like his posing faces, or not posing, his flexing faces. Obviously, his posing one, he doesn't do it because he's in a routine and everything. But his flexing faces, it just scares me. Like, I genuinely don't think there's a lot of people I think I could take a hit from. I don't think I could take a hit from him.
He has his legs are, well, not to mention his veins, but his legs. The reason his legs look so fucking weird is because of ingrown hairs. People don't realize it, but it's ingrown hairs. He shaves his legs or buzzes them like I do. And a lot of times I'll get ingrown hairs as a bunch of red dots and shit, and it makes your legs look freaky. So
yeah,
his hams, especially, whatever he does for the underside of his legs, like it looks crazy in video. And it's because of ingrown hairs. And then obviously his all of his veins and shit are fucking wild. His veins have gotten really bad again. So
our top 5s are pretty similar outside of my aggressive Regan guess. I also have, that's that. I'm probably going to eat my
I'm rooting for the Panthers for the bowl this year. Panthers for the Super Bowl. They're going to win. That's like what you're saying right now. Like that's.
You know what? No, Regan's winning. I'm kidding.
There's an article recently that said the Panthers are the worst team in NFL right now.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. There's no question.
Well, but for those that didn't understand that analogy, that's why I said that, because I was like, it's like saying the Panthers should win the Super Bowl. It's like, dude, you're really fucking aiming high there.
They're not statistically eliminated yet, so
yeah, there's still a chance statistically. They got to pull it out their ass, but same with Regan. There's still statistically a chance he can place really, really well. He just has to pull it the fuck off. Everything has to be perfect.
But I have Derek winning, obviously. But then
Mhm.
my second is Hadi. But I think what's going to happen is that because of his age, Hadi's going to basically pass the torch down to Derek and then walk off into the sunset. I think we're looking at Hadi's last
Oh,
Olympia.
yeah. Okay, I thought you meant, like,
And
literally he's gonna show up and just leave.
no. But I
No,
think
I
that
I
it's
could
going to
see him
be an
retiring.
emotional. Yeah, I think he's going to do it on stage there at the Olympia. He's going to win
Hmm.
second. Like, you know how they do. They announce the first place person's name, and then obviously whoever's left is second because they want to do that for the dramatic effect.
Yeah.
And they're gonna call Lunsford for the win. Heidi's gonna get second. I think he's gonna have some translator on stage with him, and they're gonna do some big thing about retiring and going off to the sunset, and how whether or not he positions Derek and the other guys to be like the next generation kind of. And same thing, like Big Rami's old too. Big Rami's got to be, I want to say he's 39 or something like that. And so
I don't know his age, yeah.
I think that we've got a couple guys on their way out, and obviously Big Rami's not competing this year. But I think if he did, he would be kind of in the same boat because there's only certain, unless you're on like a winning streak, there's no reason to keep doing it late into your late 30s and even into your 40s. Like Ronnie's situation was different because Ronnie was on a winning streak. And so, like, there's only very specific reasons to keep doing it because you're really messing yourself up when you're, continuing to aggressively push, especially on men's open side once you get into those later years. So I think that Hadi's gonna, walk off into the sunset after this one. And then obviously I have my aggressive Regan push in the 3 hole, which is I'm gonna eat my words on that one, but I really want it to happen.
Mhm.
And then I got Nick Walker and Hunter Labrada. That fills out my top 5.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so I looked it up. Hadi is actually 36. He's a lot younger than I expected. I thought he was almost 40 now, but he's
No,
36.
I know, but I think
And
I
then
think
Rami is
that
39.
yeah, I think that if Hadi doesn't win, he's gonna call it. Because if he
Yeah,
wins,
I
that
could see
starts
that.
a winning streak. And then you have to keep going. But
Yeah,
if he gets second or even worse, I think he's gonna call it quits.
I could see that, and it would make I wouldn't be surprised if he does retire if he doesn't win. If he wins, I mean, obviously he's
Yeah.
got to keep going, but and I mean, of course, he wants to win. He wants to bring that honor back to the Middle East and all that. But yeah, so we'll see how that
Can
goes.
you
Looking
imagine
at
I was gonna say, can you imagine you saw how big he got a statue and everything for winning it once. Can you imagine if he breaks off like 5 in a row, how wild Iran would be going for him? It
yeah,
would
it would be
be
nuts.
insane.
Yeah,
The
it
statue
would be
they
nuts.
have, they would make like a if you ever think of like the old Greek like pillar statues, one
Yeah,
of the giant like 20-foot tall ones.
didn't they make one for him, or was that Big Rami or something? Didn't they?
No, they have one for Hadi, but it's a 10-foot one. It's still
Yeah.
massive,
Okay.
don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
they're gonna do like enormous ones for him.
it's gonna be like that giant like Jesus statue in Rio,
Yeah,
where it's like his
exactly.
arms are just spread out, just looking over Iran.
but it's one of his like
It's a front
bicep
double. Like,
pulls.
yeah, that'd be interesting to see. But yeah, I looked at. I completely forgot. Samson Dowda won on Classic this year for Men's Open. Completely forgot he did that.
Classic, you said?
Arnold Classic, the show, the Arnold Classic.
Oh. I was
Yeah, no,
gonna
he didn't
say
win
he's
Classic.
a
No, he won the
open.
Open. Yeah, no, he
Yeah.
won. No. So yeah, I forgot he won Arnold Classic Men's Open last year, and so I mean, we'll see how he places. I think he'll place really well, but we'll see how that goes. So moving on, we should probably just move on to the next one. Really, the
We
big
should
one.
do well, I was gonna say why don't we do men's physique just because that's gonna be more of a one-sided conversation, then we can just get into
All
classic.
right.
Because
Yeah.
for those who don't know, like I love bodybuilding. I'm very invested in the world, but it like I just can't get invested in men's physique. And it's, to each their own. Like this is a very judgmental sport and just I can't get into it. But that's like Paul's shit right there. So
Here's
gonna
the
gonna let him,
here's the good news.
go off on it.
Yeah, so the good news is with men's physique now, the weight cap for the heights, they all compete at the same time, right? So there's no like when you do men's physique, there's no like height classes, just an NPC. There's no height classes in pro competitors or pro competitions for men's physique. They all go out at the same time essentially. So like national and regional shows, you have the height classes. But when you're competing in pro, you could be 5'6", standing next to a 6'3" guy. I mean, it all just depends on, who you end up standing next to. So in the show in men's physique now, the weight caps have gone a lot higher for men's physique in general. It's a lot heavier than a lot of people thought. Which does, push some people out. My coach now has to do classic because he'd be too heavy for his weight cap, for his height. I mean, he'd be over the weight cap, but it also really does give a lot of guys a lot of size. I mean, I know guys who could put on over 20 pounds of muscle essentially for the show and still be under their weight cap, so, and they're pros too. So like these guys can put on a lot of size. Also, I want to say the VP, the guy who announces, let me look up his name. I always forget. I think it's Alex or something. Let's see. I don't even know what to look up, but it's like the IFBB guy who announces shit. This guy, wait. T Mannion. Yep. Tyler Mannion. So he's the one who announces shit for the IFBB. I want to say, I have to look back. In the video he's talking about men's physique weight caps, I want to say he actually said that the legs aren't necessarily going to be judged, but they're going to be taken into account for overall proportions. So they're not going to reward chicken legs, like that's going to hurt you. You got to have a proportionate body. You got to be able to stretch out your board shorts. You got to, the board shorts getting shorter and shorter basically each year. And they're starting to require that. Like you can't have baggy shorts anymore. That's a requirement now. You have to have tight shorts, which makes sense. So men's physique is going to get a lot more respect, most likely going forward. Everybody's going to get bigger and bigger legs. A lot of men's physique guys are going to get bigger in size as well. And we'll see if the posing goes in any direction. But, I mean, men's physique really is becoming like true bodybuilders. It's only a little bit smaller than classic physique, literally at the end of the day. So we did talk about that. My weight cap would be 209 in men's physique, 219 in classic. So, I mean, the difference in weight, right there is really, it's a lot, but it's also not as much as people think, so people would expect like another 15, 20 pounds at least, but it's only 10. So granted, you could be the same weight from one show to the next and have a completely different physique. The weight doesn't really matter too much, but you could put on that weight and be okay. With that being said, men's physique top 5 is going to be difficult because a lot of these guys who competed in last year's Olympia, let me look up the results. Last year's Olympia, and for those that competed this year throughout the year to get qualified for the Olympia, they competed separately a lot of the time. So it's hard to say like who's gonna place where. So like for instance, last year it was Aaron Banks, then it was Brandon Hendrickson, then it was Diago Montenegro. Where they place this year is hard to say just because, like Corey Morris improved a lot between last year's Olympia and this year's Olympia, so hard to say where he's going to place. And when they do compete in these pro shows, it's like, how do we compare them? Because they're two different shows. So really the only ones we could really compare like directly as of recent was Aaron Banks and Kyron Holden, because Kyron Holden, who got 6th last year at the Olympia with Aaron winning, Kyron beat Aaron at a recent pro show. So Aaron got 2nd and Kyron got 1st, which is fucking awesome. I'm so happy to see that. Aaron has a crazy physique, but at the same time, I just really don't think he should be rewarded just off his personality alone. The dude's just not a good guy at all. I know that should not be taken into account in shows, but it makes you root against them, It's
but I mean, you can't avoid it because the whole point of bodybuilding is judgment.
of
Like
course,
that, like
of
we
course.
judge the physical aspects, and if you're predisposed to someone in a negative way, you naturally can't view their physique in a good light. And whether it's kind of like trying to find an unbiased jury for a murder trial, regardless of whether or not people are invested in it. If the person on, and again, this is an obscure example, but if someone is on trial for like murdering a kid, you are never going to find a jury that will look favorably upon that person, even if they're not invested in it. And again,
Yeah,
super obscure example, but the point being is that with, such a negative, mindset and personality, and we've talked about him in the past, but when you have that, it's impossible to truly look at him in a positive light physically, regardless of if he brings the best package or not.
yeah, he has a phenomenal physique. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think his physique looks insane. His back is like, it looked like it was 3D printed. It didn't even look real. Like, it was so symmetrical, smooth in his recent pro show that he got second. It doesn't even look fucking real. But I root against him just because of who he is as a person. It's just, he's not a nice guy. So I just root against him. If he wins, I understand. I completely understand why. Physically, he's a fucking specimen. But, just as a person, I don't like, him, I guess. It's just from what I've seen and what I've heard him say and stuff like that. So, excuse me, guys. I'm just getting over a cold here. With that being said, I do actually have Aaron as first for the Olympia. I was talking to someone recently and he made a good point. He said Aaron didn't even look like he was 100%. Kyron looked 100% at the show. Aaron didn't look 100%. He still had some room to work with. He had some potential additional fat to come off. Mainly in his obliques, really. I mean, once I saw his obliques, I'm like, all right, Aaron, his obliques and his lower back was really where he struggled the most. Which, I mean, when we're talking about these guys, we're talking like, you'll never see someone in person as lean as these guys are on stage. Like, even like
Oh yeah.
10th place is leaner than you'll ever see walking on the street. But with that being said, it's just when you're comparing all these guys together, Aaron could have lost a little bit of fat in his lower back. His obliques could have had a little bit more work. I think it really just came down to water, most likely. But again, at the same time, like, he still has some room to work with. For that reason, I put him at first, because he has the time and the ability to do that. I do have Kyron holding at second. I think he's gotten crazy since last year. He has put on some size. He was actually supposed to compete in Classic for a lot of the shows this year, but he decided to move back to men's physique. So he's got the size. We know that. He's got the conditioning. Dude looked fucking insane at his recent pro show. I think he's got a phenomenal physique. I absolutely love his physique. I think it looked great. For third, I have Brendan Hendrickson. He placed second last year for the Olympia. I believe he won a pro show this year as well. So it's very possible he could place top 3. I would not be surprised if he placed second again. He looks great every time he competes. So we'll see how that goes. I have fourth, Ryan Terry. He won 7th last year at the Olympia. Ryan Terry is kind of like Regan a little bit, like for you, Stoph. I'm kind of just like rooting for him because he's like the only fucking white dude up there. So I'm rooting for the white guy because men's physique is dominated by black physiques, and that's just a reality when it comes to aesthetics and something like men's physique. Oftentimes, African American descent, African lineage has much more ability to have that physique. So men's physique is great for guys who have African ancestors. With that being said, there are a few very, very aesthetic and very successful white guys. Ryan Terry's one of them. He looks great. He's done a lot for the division. He's done a lot for the competition in general. He's got a lot of followers. He's got a big fan base, 4.5 million followers on Instagram. I think that's the most, I think, out of any men's physique competitor. So he's got a lot of people backing him. He's done a lot. He's a nice guy from what I've seen. He's always got a smile on his face. So I root for him heavily. Could he place top 5? Absolutely. I could totally see him placing top 5. Will he place top 3? that's another conversation. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to place top 3, but I would be really happy to see him place top 3. Obviously, I want him to place the best he can. There are a lot of guys this year that I think, given more time, could potentially win the Olympia going forward. And Emmanuel Hunter is one of them. I don't have him in top 5, but I could totally see him getting top 5 not too long from now. Same with, I just had his name. Oh, Ben Quill Pierre. I could see him placing really, really well soon. He doesn't have the size, I don't think yet, but conditioning, abso-fucking-lutely. The dude is diced to the gills. So with that being said, I want to say I have 5th Andre Ferguson. Andre has improved a lot since last year's Olympia. He took some time off, I believe, before last year's Olympia anyways. So he, put on some size, put on a little bit of fat, I believe. So with this year's Olympia coming around, having done more competitions, having focused more on the Olympia, I think he could place really well. And people forget, for a while there, like 2014, 2015, something like that, and for quite a few years, Andre and Brandon Hendrickson, so Andre Ferguson and Brandon Hendrickson were going at it 1 and 2. And it flopped back and forth between Olympia, Arnold Classic, Pro Show, or stuff like that. So it was like a feud. It was like they even talked about it on Generation Iron. I believe it was either 2 or 3 Generation Iron, where they interviewed both and talked to them how they're doing and whatnot. How they're doing, the competitions and everything. And it really was a battle is the way they kind of portrayed it. So I'm hoping Andre places top 5. Brandon just came in a lot better last year. I mean, Andre got 10th where Brandon got 2nd. So based off that alone, I put Brandon higher than Andre, but I am hoping that Andre places top 5.
Yeah.
So that's physique for you. So it's Aaron Banks, Kyron Holden, Brandon Hendrickson, Ryan Terry, and then Andre Ferguson. That's my top 5. But again, I think 2 through 5 could be really anything. Probably 3 through 5 could really be anything or anyone. But I think top 2, I still am very, very heavy towards Aaron Banks winning. And then I think Kyron could definitely get 2nd, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. There's a lot of other guys that can play in.
And I was going to say, too, a lot of, the reason why we keep saying is we will see is because it's truly a day-to-day sport. So, one day someone will come in better than the other person. And regardless of how they've been posting or how their first session went, everything is day-to-day. So anything could change. And that's why so much of it is up in the air.
It's like judging. It's like saying who you think. So imagine for anybody listening who doesn't fully grasp it, imagine football, right? Imagine all you've seen is the results of last year's games. All you see is they're practicing, and then you have to predict who's going to win this Super Bowl. It's kind of what it is, because a lot of these guys aren't competing throughout the year. A couple of them are, to get qualified, stuff like that. And all you see is photos and training and stuff like that. So it's you got to kind of use the materials you're given to kind of make a guesstimate of who's going to place where. But then at the end of the day, it's not a team sport. It's not you could probably better predict who's going to win the Super Bowl than you can predict out of a hat, basically. If you didn't know any of these names, you couldn't pick who's going to be the Olympia. You have a better chance of predicting the Super Bowl just because it's a team sport. It's not up to one person. You could have one guy not playing the best and still win. Where in bodybuilding, if you don't show up your best, you're gonna get destroyed. So it's all individual. So it's all just depends on how they peak and all of that. That's why I kept mentioning that peaking is basically where you're full but also low in fat. You don't get waterlogged at all. You don't take on anything prior to the show. There's a lot that goes into it. There's so many variables. Your insulin sensitivity, your glycogen storages, your water intake, whether or not you shed it, your digestion, your bowel movements, your urination, everything takes into account. Your salt intake, everything goes into a show. I mean, even just when the show can play a role. Your electrolytes plays a role. It's all of that plays a role. So these guys, every bodybuilder competitor, even if you're an expert, you still have a coach to guide you and help you through the process. And these coaches are paid because they know how peaks work and they know how these things work. So Aaron Banks works with this guy named, his Instagram name is Cuts. I forget his actual name, but he's Cuts. That's his name. He got a nickname because he got stabbed like 10 times or something like that, like 10 years ago. I forget when it was, but that's why he got this nickname Cuts. Yeah, he got stabbed a bunch of times. So he survived. He's okay. Thank God. But he is known for men's physique competitors. So he's really good at working with men's physique competitors. He has some classic competitors, but like he's like the men's physique coach right now. You know, he's
kind
the
of
guy
like
you want to go
how
to.
Hani Rambod is like the men's open and classic guy.
Yeah, he's Hani Rambod and then Milo Sarkev second, I would say, are like the top two like judges, right? Or not judges, coaches right now. Cuts is like the coach right now for men's physique.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, they pay this guy probably a lot of money and he fucking gets them dialed in. You know, he'll work with one client for one show and he'll look better than he ever has. So that's what these guys get paid for. So just however they show up to the show is going to entirely depend on whether or not they peak properly. And then from there, just in comparison to everybody else, you know? So I think Aaron's going to take it again this year, but we'll see.
Hell yeah.
I want Kyron. I want Ryan to take it, but I don't think that's going to happen. Not this year, at least.
And then we also have a surprise competitor in the wheelchair division. I truly think that this is Christoph Noel's year to take the wheelchair division. He's bringing in a package unlike anyone else.
Dumbass. Christoph Noel. What the fuck? He's walking out on stage.
does like a double take. Oh shit! Falls over.
Yeah, you're like walking.
I forgot. Wearing a Speedo for classic and has a spray tan done to the bottom half and goes, oh shit.
My bad. I forgot to wear sweatpants. But yeah, that would be bad. That'd cause a lot of problems.
Yep.
But with that being said, the big one, classic.
Yeah.
What you thinking?
I got some crazy stuff. All right. So I'm going to go up. I'm going to go from 5 up to 1 because I've got some drama at the top. So
all right, let's see.
I think Terrence Ruffin brings in the 5. I think I've been coming around on Ruffin. I wasn't huge on him to start, but I've been coming around on him, and I mean, obviously it's tough to tell because so much of his stuff is filtered. Like his Instagram is like just pure filter. So it's tough to really get a good grasp on him, but he does look pretty darn good. Then in the 4, I've got Vissers. I've got
interesting.
Shit, what's his first name? Wesley Vissers?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been pulling for him for a bit. He didn't really have the size before, but he looks with the increased size caps, he's looking big. And, you know, he's got the Arnold mentoring, so I think that he's going to bring, you know, a really good package. So I think 4 there. I hate that I don't think he's going to pull through, but I think Dino is in the 3. I was really hoping last year he would have taken it and, you know, dethroned Bum, but I think he drops. I think he's in the 3. And then this is where it gets really spicy. I think that, do you remember, boy, the only one I can think of is there's an Olympia where Arnold and this other dude were tied, and like after prejudging and everything, and they made the 2 dudes come out and just do a bunch of poses again. Did you ever hear about that? It was in the only reason I know about it is because it was in his book. But
I'd have to look up. I forget who it was. Was it Frank Zane?
It might have been, yeah. But
Frank, I don't know.
Regardless, the judges couldn't come to a decision, so they had the 2 guys come back out. That's the moral of the story, regardless of who it was against. And
Franco Colombo.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
But I think that because of the increased size, and I don't know if you've seen some of Urza's pictures, he is fucking huge now. And I think he already last year, so he brought in the 3rd best package last year, and he had just gotten over a sickness, so he wasn't even at 100%. So I think him at 100% with the increased size, the judges are not going to be able to pick originally between him or C-Bum. So I think they're going to come back out, have a drama-filled pose-off in front of everybody. And I do think C-Bum still takes it, but I think that there's going to be a lot of drama between those two, and it's going to be like a wake-up call for C-Bum, because C-Bum has run this division now for 4 years, and especially last year and the year before, it wasn't even close. But I think this year is going to be like an, oh shit, Urs is coming to play, and then potentially setting up a next year dethroning. But I think that there's going to be a lot of drama up at the top. And I think that they're going to do that kind of, all right, gentlemen, come back out. We can't figure it out. Do another pose off. And I think Urs is going to give him a real darn good run for his money this year.
Okay. Interesting. So that's what you were hinting at earlier.
Yeah. So C-Bum, Urs, Dino, Vissers, and Ruffin. That's my 1 through 5.
Okay. Interesting. See, so I got C-Bum for first because, of course.
Do you think it's going to be close, or do you think that it's going to be a blowout again?
I think it's going to be not as much of a blowout as last year, but I think it's going to be a clear winner. I think we're going to see C-Bum. We're going to be like, okay, for sure he's got first. There's no question about it. But I don't think it's going to be like last year where it's like, dude, this ain't even fair. Like last year was like, dude,
last year and the year before.
Yeah, he was in his own division. Like the past, recent Olympias, like it just wasn't even fair to the other competitors. So,
well, there's so many like cutouts of that walkout of him doing, and people don't understand. Like people outside of the bodybuilding world don't understand that when he walked out from there, the crowd was like, "Holy fucking shit, what is this?" Like,
yeah, like it doesn't make any sense. Like his physique is just so fucking absurd. It just doesn't make sense.
Everyone on the outside world looking in was like, "Oh, cool! Here's this cool bodybuilder walking out with some smoke entrance and everything," and us sitting there like in our seats going, "Dad,
God, is that God? God is embodied in C-Bum. He's the second coming." But no, I really think that he's going to take first, and it's going to be clear winner again.
Okay.
Last year's sweep was pretty obvious, obviously, but like I think this year it's a lot of competitors are getting closer and closer to him. Like Urs, for instance, I think Urs is like right on top of him. He's not like, give him like maybe another year, maybe 2 at the most, and like Urs would be like with C-Bum at that point. I think. But again, we're gonna have to see how he is on stage. That's gonna play a role. So from there, it's 3 through 5 is tough for me because it's like I think Breon Ainsley could even play second potentially because Breon had that problem where the weight cap was right at the point where I was like, okay, do I either sacrifice some size and compete in classic, or do I commit and do men's open? But now that they increased the weight cap for his height, he can now comfortably compete in classic and be basically the size he wants to be. So like that worked out perfectly for him. It was like almost like the weight cap was designed for him. So Breon, with the size he could put on, I think he could definitely place top 3 even. So like I have him like I put him as like number 6 on my list, but it's a question mark. He could really place anywhere in the top 5. It just depends on how he shows up because he might have put on too much size and not focus on conditioning as much. Obviously he'd want to focus on conditioning, but he might have sacrificed a little bit of conditioning for some size. So I have him probably like realistically like 3rd or 4th. But then I also have like
I was going to say, I know you have the question mark on him. Do you think with the added size, there's any potential for him to take 1? I mean, I know we talk about C-Bum really laying and like, being so much different than everyone else, but for a couple years it was C-Bum versus Breon. So like,
yeah,
I'm wondering if with the added size, he might be able to bring in enough to squeeze out a sneak 1 or something like that.
Personally, I think with the look of classic physique, I don't think so. Like, the classic physique look is almost like how close can we get to C-Bum is basically where we're at now. Like,
I
classic,
get that.
especially when C-Bum and Breon were kind of going at it. Classic was very much up in the air. It's like, where do we put the classic look? Like, what are we looking for? And it's like the focus for classic obviously was like size, symmetry, conditioning. It was all of it. Like it was like, what can we do to make the best, most appealing physique possible, right?
It was
But
original bodybuilding.
the OG 60s and 70s bodybuilding was what classic is today. But now that we have CBum, it's like, okay, this is what we're looking for. Like wide as fuck lats, like huge shoulders. CBum can use some bigger biceps, but I mean, come on, it's CBum. Big arms, tiny ass fucking waist, good legs, crazy glute striations. Like that's what we're looking for. You put CBum next to a men's open guy and he looks small. CBum open looks small next to a men's open guy. So it's not about the size. It's the overall symmetry and aesthetics of CBum that's become the classic look. And that's why I could see Wesley Vissers doing well in the future. I could see Urs doing well because they have that classic look. They got that crazy V taper, crazy small waist, good lat insertions for like the crazy like hourglass kind of thing they got going on. So I don't think like it's like Breon and Ruffins kind of have that problem where they're on the shorter side. So it's harder for them to have that tall classic bodybuilder look. That's the problem. Like CBum, I think is like 6 foot, 6'1", something like that.
He's 6'1". Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So he's got that taller physique, which is kind of what classic is becoming. It's almost like classic is becoming like a tall competitor's division, which sucks because it kind of takes away from the smaller guys. But like that's why like 212 exists, is because men's open's like, all right, let's just be honest. The guys we're looking at are all like 5'9" at least. So let's create 212 for the guys who are smaller height wise, who are shorter height wise, but can still have that same structure. They just can't put on the same size, So I think like classic is kind of like that, where it's like, all right, the look we're going for in classic is going to require a taller physique, but like Ruffins and Breon kind of fit into it. It's just not quite, It's tough. That's why they increased the weight cap, but we'll see how it goes. I think Breon could place really, really well. So I have him maybe third or fourth, and then I have Ramon. And then from there, I have Ruffins. And then after that, it really is just up to the judges. I mean, I'd like Franklin to place really well if he's competing. I can't find anything whether or not he's competing, because I know he got second against Ruffins, but I can't find if he's even competing this year. It doesn't say he's qualified on Generation Iron's website, but that could change. I'm not sure if he's like hitting another show or something in the meantime. I haven't looked up into it before today's episode, but if he was competing, I would love for him to place top 5. I love Franklin's physique, but I don't think that's realistic right now with the competition that's going on. Like there's a lot of competition, good competition classic. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
The good news is I don't have to root for an ethnicity because it's pretty mixed in classic. It's you got your Spanish guys, you got your Middle Eastern guys, you got your European guys, you got your African guys, you got the continent covered basically in classic. I mean, there is no like dominant ethnicity there, which is interesting. Usually you kind of see it going in one direction, but in classic right now, it's, CBum's white, but that could definitely change very soon. Ramon from Brazil, it's interesting to see that. Granted, men's open's also the same way kind of too, which is cool. I like seeing the difference, the mix, the only guys who are kind of suffering as our Asian counterparts. They typically, it's hard for them to compete in really any physique. Like they have the most fucking like aesthetic physiques ever, but like they can never put on. It's weird because it's like you see a lot of these Asian competitors like in Asian shows and they're like, wow, these guys look fucking crazy. But then it's like either they don't have the size compared to the other competitors who compete like in America, or they just don't fit into the look. It's like they're just something just suffers, whatever it is, which sucks because there's so many great Asian competitors. Hidetada is a great one to as an example. There's also a guy in men's physique that's a great example of that, which is Yoon Sung Lee. He's from South Korea. Great physique. I do know someone I think that has him in top 5 actually, so I wouldn't be surprised if he places really well. There's also Ming Che Sai, who's from Taiwan. So I mean, it's interesting to see that. But right now, us whiteys got maybe men's open with Derek, and for sure classic with CBum.
Well, I think it's funny with Sebum is that, he's Canadian, but with his tan when he steps on stage, you cannot tell he's Canadian.
Yeah, no. I mean, he lives in Florida now. I mean, he's not that
No,
Canadian anymore.
I know. But still,
So
your complexion will be more like Canadians are whitey whites,
Rican's Canadian. People forget that.
Yeah. He's whitey white.
Ian Mayer. So many competitors are Canadian. People forget it. So fucking many. And so many are from Egypt too. Like people associate Big Ramy with the Middle East. It's like, no, he's Egyptian. He's actually from Egypt. He lives in Kuwait. He's not, he's not in Egypt right now, but like, he's from Egypt. It's just everybody associates. If you're tan, you're probably from Middle East. If you're white, you're from America or Europe. And if you're Spanish, you're from Brazil. Which you're not even Spanish. You're Brazilian.
Well, Big Ramy got all those muscles from carrying water from the Nile to his family. That's
yeah, he's got giant
buckets of water.
That's funny. Yeah, it's interesting to see the differences. A lot of Italy competitors as well. But yeah, USA
which is funny because I think Italian competitors are funny because, we have our diets which are locked in, like, it's like, hey, we just eat chicken and rice all day, and it's like the Italian competitors, what do you eat? Mama cooked the spaghetti today.
Mama made a special sauce. No, if I lived in Italy, I'd be fucking
for the seventh day in a row.
I would love to go to Italy. I just don't think it'd be good for my health. I'd go into cardiac arrest by the time I leave.
Well, there's a reason a lot of prominent Italian people have fairly large bellies and whatnot, because you're packing on so many just dense carbs when you eat.
Yeah. That's how it is. I want to experience it so bad, but I want to go to Italy and go eat cheeses from where they originate. Like eat mozzarella in mozzarella, eat Parmesan in Parmesan. All that, like have the OG cheese in the actual town that they're created in. Because like you can't technically have real mozzarella unless it's actually from mozzarella. The way it's made is the only way to actually have real mozzarella. All the other mozzarellas out there aren't even real mozzarella.
And that's why I eat England in England.
Ew.
I just eat English people.
There's this video I saw today. This guy was like, this lady was like, all these Americans, we want to be rock stars and millionaires and the president and all that. And then she's like, Europeans aren't like that. And he's like, well, they can't be the president because they're European, but also all of us Americans are millionaires and rock stars. And then one of the comments goes, yeah, I wouldn't have much ambition either if I lived off of beans and toast. I'm like, damn. There's so many jokes about like how England like fought so many wars and like killed so many people for spices just to never use it in their food.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, that's so good. It's so funny.
The silk trade just to be dressed in knickers.
Yeah. And then just fight everybody, kill everybody just to ban guns and get stabbed all the time. Fucking wild country. But yeah, so those are our predictions. So as a recap, 2 through 5 on any of these could really go any way. So I have Derek Lunsford, Heidi Chupin, Nick Walker, Hunter Labrada, and then Samson Dowda. 2 through 5 there could be really any combination of those 4. Classic, I have Sebum for first for sure. So like first for each of these, I'm like, yeah, these guys are going to win first. Like Aaron, Sebum, and Derek, I could see winning first for sure.
Yeah.
In all of their divisions. 2 through 5, I think is going to be Urs, Ramon, Ruffins, and Breon. How they place, I don't know. I think realistically, it's going to be Urs, Breon, Ramon, Ruffins is what I think. Then men's physique, I got Aaron, Kyron, Holden, Brennan Hendrickson, Ryan Terry, and then Andre Ferguson. I think Aaron's going to win. I think Kyron's going to get top 3. Brennan, Ryan, and Andre is going to be completely up in the air. Corey Morris could totally come in and fucking take top 5, even top 3 maybe. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. Yu-Sung Lee could place really well. We also got, what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank? We got fucking Diago. is it? Yeah, Diago Montenegro. He could place really well this year as well. He could place top 3. You know, it's men's physique, I think to me is the one that's like really up in the air for like top 5. But I still have Aaron as first and Kyron top 3 for sure. But that's basically my list right there. 212, I still have Sean Clarita winning. He's just been dominating in that division. There's really no competition there. I'd like to see Hidetaka Yamagishi place top 3, but you know, he's on the other side as well. I don't think he's going to play super amazing, but we'll see how that goes. I would not be surprised if he doesn't place top 3. There's also John Jewett and Chris Jones. Those guys are great. Keon Pearson, I could see top 3 in men's 212. I could totally see, now that I think about it, I could totally see Keon Pearson top 3 for sure. Like second or third, I would not be surprised if Keon Pearson plays top 3. Keon is, if you guys want to imagine his physique, he's basically shaped like a Dorito, like a 3D Dorito. You know, it's like Dorito puffs. That's how he's built. He's fucking crazy looking. His shoulders are like 3 times the size of his waist. Dude's wild. But then with that being said, Derek for first for sure. Hottie probably top 3. Nick, Hunter, and Samson can go any direction. So we'll see. But that's my list. Got a week. Next time we talk to you guys, we'll know we should know more.
I've got Kevin Larone winning all of my divisions.
Yeah, he deserves it. We got to give him at least 3 medals just to make up for it. I think you just lagged a bit there, but anyways,
sorry.
You're good.
Yeah.
You want to go through your list real quick? We'll call it a day.
Yeah, if my internet holds up, but I'll just rush through it. Open, I got Lunsford, Hottie, Regan, Walker, and then Labrada. Regan Grimes. Come on, baby. Don't make me eat my words.
And then Classic, that's I just got crazy.
Then I've got Classic Sebum, Dino, Vissers, and Ruffin.
Okay. All right, we'll see how this goes. I'm excited for this year's Olympia. I think the competition's getting fiercer, I think. Especially men's physique.
Yeah,
men's physique is
for sure
getting so fucking crazy. So that'd be interesting to see. So I'm excited for this year's Olympia. Well, next time we'll talk, maybe we could try to see if we could record on Sunday, maybe to go over the results real quick.
Yep.
Because Sunday, next weekend, everything will be done. Saturday and Friday. Friday, Saturday is when everything happens. So we'll maybe touch base Sunday next week and tell you guys what we think of the results. Obviously, I'm not going to pay for the pay-per-view. I'm not going to sit there and watch. I usually just watch the highlights. I just watch the finals. And then I look at prejudging photos really at the end of the day. I don't really pay for most videos. The only ones I paid for is people that I know who are competing. To me, it's I'd rather just see the actual competition itself. There's a lot of stuff that goes on between. Shows are so fucking long. People don't realize that. Shows are very long. So it's hard for me to sit down and watch shows like that. So I'll probably won't pay for the pay-per-view. I'll probably just look at the highlights afterwards. And then we'll talk about the results.
Hell yeah. I'll find an illegal stream of it and just watch the whole thing.
I think I looked it up. I think I looked it up last year. I think they're out there. They're for sure out there.
For sure. Absolutely.
I wonder who's going to be the announcer this year. I wonder if it's going to be Dwayne Johnson again.
I think he love did it
last year, I think.
I would love it if Bruce, what's his name? Bruce Biffer. I forget his name. The MMA guy.
Oh yeah. The Are You Ready to Rumble guy?
That would be electric if Bruce did it. He takes his job so seriously.
I want to say he actually did it at one point. I could be wrong. Let me look this up. Just
blanking on his last name, but his first name's Bruce.
Let me see. Yeah, there's no list of guys who've announced the Olympia and stuff like that. The big one is Bob Ciccirillo. Ciccirillo. I don't know. I do know Dwayne Johnson did it one year as well. But yeah, we'll see who's doing it this year. I know a lot of the commentators on the judging side of things, Ray Lewis, I think, has done it a lot. And then usually it's usually like previous competitors. It's like if you ever watch racing, the guys who comment on the races have almost guaranteed competed in the actual race. So like F1, the three or four guys who actually like commentate on the races have raced F1. Same with indie racers, all that raced in the car. So they'll say like what it's actually like doing it and what those guys are going through. So like a lot of the time the guys commentating on the posing and all of that actually competed in the Olympia. So they have more insight as to the process and all of that, which makes sense, you know?
Well, for a while there was Triple H from WWE was doing the Olympia stuff.
That's pretty sick. I mean, it's a huge competition. People don't realize how big it is. It's fucking huge.
Yeah.
Like Dwayne Johnson, like that's crazy. He's like the biggest actor in the world right now. Everybody knows who Dwayne Johnson is.
Imagine they do an intro for the announcer, and they're like, "And your announcer for the 2023 men's Mr. Olympia, baby, don't hurt me." And Mike O'Hearn just walks right off the stage.
I could have. When you're saying like, imagine they said this, and I was a kid. They're good, like Christoph Noel. You're just like, could read my inner Ziz to this show.
What don't women understand about men? Cheeseburgers.
But all right, appreciate you guys listening. We will stay tuned for the Olympia results. With that being said, you guys enjoy your week. Thanks for listening. We're excited about next weekend. It's gonna be a good one.
Hell yeah! All right, guys.
All right, we'll see ya.
Peace.